And they paid their own legal fees back to me 17 times and more. So the responsibility oftentimes is in your hands to manage the professionals that you choose to work with, whether they be attorneys, accountants, or whatever. Because your failure to do that is your fault, not theirs. If you think they're out of control in how they're billing you, tell them. Rein them in. If you don't, it is your fault. But when you do, you can gain the benefit of their expertise. The irony was that when I sold my business in 2008 during the summer, my wife told me, there is no way that you're going to sell the business. I have seen this movie, I know how it ends, and it doesn't end in a sale. And for the most part, she was right. There was only one ingredient that had changed. When I saw two companies that were our clients go bankrupt within a 6-month period of time, one owned by Merrill Lynch and yet another owned by Goldman Sachs, I decided something was afoot that I did not know the exact nature of, but I was uncomfortable. Did I see the tsunami coming that we had? No, I won't be that ludicrous to make any such statement. But I will tell you that I felt discomfort in the gut. In my gut, I felt discomfort. I felt uncomfortable about the future. And so I said, how much is enough? How much is enough? At a certain point, let's move on. Even though I was an entrepreneur, and I still consider myself one today, there's a point when you say enough. And that's what I did in 2008. Bank of America Securities represented us. I retained White & Case as counsel. They represented us on the legal front. And we presented the company to 85 companies around the world and ultimately sold to one. I think if I hadn't sold, I would have probably gone bankrupt. That may be an exaggeration, but I think it was that close. You know what's happened the last 2 years, right? How would you like to have been an owner of a software company for mortgages over the last 2 years? I don't think so. That doesn't sound like fun to me, and I'm sure it doesn't to you. So that's why I sold. Some of what we did, we provided solutions for retail, wholesale, correspondent, home equity, broker channels, prime, and subprime mortgages. We did pretty much whatever the lenders needed us to do, we were there to help them make those loans. We didn't determine the advisability of whether they should have made the loans or whether the customers could pay back the mortgages. That wasn't our job. Our job was to provide the technology, the solution for them to make the loans to the individual borrowers. That was our responsibility, and I'd like to think that we fulfilled it. We had 2 operation centers, one in Nashville, Tennessee, which unfortunately I still own. If you're looking for office space up there, we've got some 36,000 square feet on 5 acres of land, and it's a great looking building. I'm hopeful I'm going to be able to get some tenants in it shortly so that I can get some positive cash flow. But you know what I did with that building was the same thing that I trust any one of you would have done had you been in the same situation that I was in. I made the decision, rightly or wrongly, that if I fouled up the sale of the business because of the real estate, that would be an unwise thing. Can you understand what I mean by that? For example, if I said, you know, I want to sell you the business, but in order for you to buy the business, you have to lease this building for the next 5 years or 10 years, and I make that uneconomic to the buyer, then the buyer may back away, right? Go elsewhere, or not buy the business at all. So when I came to that conclusion, I said, that doesn't make sense. So if I still own the building after I sell the business, it's like winning the war and not worrying about a given battle that you didn't win. Does that make sense? On the corporate headquarters in South Miami, we fortunately sold that about 8 months after the business was sold. What kind of technology did we provide? We provided a browser-based system with laptops, tablet, PC accessibility. Our staff was dedicated to every possible interface imaginable in the industry, such as Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, MBA. We had just a great team of professionals within the GFS firm. Our net oxygen solution, which was our thin client, we provided a thin client, those of you who know anything about technology, before having to deploy Citrix, a Citrix layer to make it true thin client. So that was our net oxygen solution. We provided screen creation tools so that people could create their own software, and they didn't need programmers to do it. People love that. Our clients love that. We provided field properties and business objects and our own rules engine as well as expert system with the technology. We had developers create tools. Instead of programming programs, we had them create tools so other people inside of our client firms could create their own screens, their own workflow, their own solution. We used drag and drop products and pricing managed out of Excel, and we had professional assistance from our firm and charged for it handsomely when we could. We developed our own rules engine, record selector, product selector, event handler, secure document delivery over the internet and over the web, and best practices throughout. Our systems were used, as I said earlier, by some of the largest financial institutions in the world. And I guess in wrapping up, the philosophy behind our net oxygen solution was to adapt your business model where you no longer needed to adapt your processes or limitations of them that were imposed by your software. We wanted to empower our clients to do for themselves that which they wanted to do, and in doing so, we felt we could do well, but so could they. There are a few items that in the preparation for today, I thought I would try to share with you in some context about entrepreneurialism. And what, by the way, I have a hard time spelling it also, so if you feel like you do, don't feel like the Lone Ranger. The first is a passion for an idea of merit that has real substance. I believe, and I think I'm right on this, that if you're going to succeed as an entrepreneur, it's not about making money. It has to be about an idea that you, yourself, have an incredible passion for. That's what will lead to success, just like Monique, your dad, did with his firm that provided technology to lawyers. What Monique's dad, John, a good friend of mine, did was he founded a software company that monitored the copies that were made in a law office and assigned the value of those copies and the charges for billing to an individual account. So blame her dad when you get the legal bills and you don't like how much they are. That's what he did, wasn't it? Yes. And he built the company into $50 million in revenue. Way more successful than Gallagher Financial. Second thing is marshal the resources to ensure your initial success. How many times, Professor, do people start businesses and they are undercapitalized, and that in and of itself becomes the self-fulfilling prophecy? The reason for their failure is not because the idea didn't have merit. It isn't because they didn't try hard. It's because they didn't have the resources to sustain the idea beyond its inception. 3, test the waters before taking the plunge. One of my favorite expressions from Warren Buffett, have you heard it? Yeah. About that you can never tell who's swimming naked until the tide goes out. Okay? Think about that one. You know, I think the best way I can describe testing the waters is when I first heard about the product that Brooks Financial Systems sold, when Bob Brooks first came. How are we doing on time, Professor? Doing fine? When I first heard about it, I said, that is a winner. You know how things happen in your life? Sometimes you say, intuition tells you. Intuition tells you that's the right girl for me or not, or that's the right guy for me or not, right? Sometimes your gut tells you. What happens when you don't listen to your gut? Sometimes that's not good, right? And I'm not picking on you. But do you know what I mean? Yeah. And so it's the same thing as being an entrepreneur.